This is Technically Legal, a podcast about legal technology, innovation in the legal industry, and the impact tech is having on the law. I'm Chad Main, the founder of legal services company Percipient, and on today's show, I'm talking to Dave Siegfried. He's the founder and CEO of Official AI, which is an app with the mission of validating work created by artificial intelligence and tying the authenticity of that work to the actual owner of the IP or the name and likeness being used. Nowadays, we can barely go 15 minutes without hearing about artificial intelligence. Article after article and story after story about what it can do. But the more fundamental question, the one that really gets to the heart of our identity in the digital age is, when AI can replicate your voice, your image, your very likeness, who controls it? Who protects it? And how do we ensure the creator, the actual person that owns that name and likeness, is still compensated for its use? My guest today has been grappling with this question for years. He is Dave Siegfried, the founder of Official AI. But even before Dave founded Official AI, he's been doing similar work for a long time. First, in the very early days of the internet, when music and video went online, Dave helped artists protect their work that was being streamed. Fast forward to the 2020s, and now he's founded Official AI, which is a new venture that aims to build a digital infrastructure for proving authenticity in an increasingly synthetic world. Dave and his team is making sure that in the new era of AI, the actual owner of the IP, the actual owners of their names and likeness, are staying in control. So, looks like accountant by trade, but you have this love for tech and licensing and media. So, what's the interplay there? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I sometimes refer to myself as a recovering accountant. Very early in my career, accounting was my foray kind of into the startup world, but I was never the best accountant. I was much better at operations and sales. So I quickly sidestepped into leadership role with a few startups. The most meaningful and most applicable to what I'm doing today, it's a company by the name of Audiosocket. And I was on the founding team back in '08. And with Audiosocket, we represented thousands of musicians around the world, helping them obtain sync licenses. And that was right around the time that video sharing was the technology shift that was disrupting artists and wreaking havoc on IP holders.
We should explain what a sync license is. That's when an artist gets paid for their art, generally music, being used in connection with video.
Yes, exactly.
Synchronization license.
Yes, the synchronization license. So with Audiosocket, we were handling licensing between musicians and brands, synchronization licenses, performance license, mechanical licenses. And so with video sharing, with YouTube coming on the scene, it created the need for streaming rights that weren't necessarily available with a record label that artists hadn't thought of before. There was a need for new mechanisms and technology to align with existing copyright laws. There were needs for new laws. And so that chaos opened up a lot of opportunities for artists, for companies like Audiosocket. And from the initial technology and licensing, we developed a patent on early provenance, which, provenance, your audience understands the term provenance. I don't have to define that like I normally do, but we didn't call it provenance at the time. We were looking for ways to use technology to protect IP.
So, are you a musician yourself? Did you have interest in the arts before jumping from the accounting field?
I am not a musician. I wish I was. I've always been a fan of art. I think it's the cornerstone of our humanity. And so I jumped in with the Audiosocket founding team to be part of that. I think art helps us understand ourselves and each other in ways that we couldn't otherwise. And the most meaningful way for me to contribute towards that was in an operations role.
Interesting. What was the connection to the company? Did you have friends, buddies, clients? What was it?
The two founders, Jennifer Miller and Brent McCrossan, were good friends of mine. And so they approached me early on and asked if, I wanted to spend the weekends having a beer and discussing music licensing and technology and how to navigate video sharing. And I said yes. And it quickly grew into a full-time endeavor. The company's based in London today, a string of successes along the way, and all laying the groundwork for Official AI.
So this is '08, I think, when you start with
Yes.
Audiosocket, right? And how long were you there?
I was with Audiosocket full-time until, let's say, was it 2016? And then I remained an advisor to this day.
Because Official AI was launched, what, 1 or 2 years ago?
A year and a half ago.
Yeah. What'd you do in between?
Other startups. So I'd founded a mobile e-commerce company, built and sold a commercial real estate debt marketplace. Few stints after that focused solely on generative AI, and then met with the team at Pioneer Square Labs and Medita Venture, both VCs working on ways to solve for the challenges facing everyone around generative AI and the misuse of one's name, image, and likeness, and just became obsessed with the opportunity.
I want you to give your elevator pitch as to what official AI is, but I'm gonna intro that because it's not dissimilar to what you were trying to solve at Audiosocket, right? People getting paid for something they own, their name, image, and likeness in official AI's case, but for use in connection with the internet. Back then, it was videos, but
Yep.
now it's more than just your music. It could be your voice. It could be you. It could be the essence of you. So, what is official AI? What problem does it solve?
So official AI empowers real people and brands today to create authentic content together. And by authentic content, I mean using AI to create images and video while ensuring consent, credit, and compensation for the use of one's name, image, likeness, and voice.
What's that mean? So if, a model is trained on let's say I'm an author or in my podcast, like whatever, whatever it is trained on this information, it's making sure I get the right credit and hopefully paid too, right? Is that in a nutshell what we're doing?
Yes, although we aren't focused on the underlying training data. That's a huge issue focused solely on copyright. We took the position that this is going to be solved at some point in the market through the courts, but there's a need immediately to provide a proactive solution that allows us to leverage our name, image, likeness, and voice, and that's what we built with Official AI. So, for example, as an individual, you can come to our platform. We create a blueprint of you. We can create a blueprint of an object.
What's a blueprint? What do you mean by that? A blueprint?
So, looking at as few as 10 images from your phone, we can create a detailed mapping of who Chad is. We can use that to create new versions of images and use those images to create video, layer in voice models, and create content that you've approved. Our thesis is that synthetic media can be authentic media if you can verify that there was consent given for the message.
So I see on the website it says your vault technology. That's what you're describing here, right? This is
Yes.
what does that entail in this vault technology? You talk about the blueprint where I upload some stuff so it can learn really what my essence is, but what else is going on there?
So with the Vault technology, we learn who you are and we provide you with a way to then use that where you see fit. So first and foremost, we're giving you this safe harbor to explore using your likeness in AI content. We have customers who keep that blueprint locked up. They want to know it's there. They want to know it's safe. They want to be able to point to it and say, if I'm out there anywhere, it's coming from official AI. If you don't see that it's from official AI, it's not authentic. We have other customers who are using it to create content, whether that's for storyboarding or for external campaigns. And we allow them to create that content within our own system. And they can use a variety of different text to image or video models to do that, or they can decide to collaborate with a trusted party. So today, that usually is a brand that they want to create content with, but maybe the talent doesn't have any more days on their calendar this quarter. Maybe there's a scheduling constraint. They can't get their favorite hairstylist on set. They can collaborate with the brand to create content that's complementary to existing photography or is brand new, allowing them to tell new stories, to create culturally relevant, timely content, to be in the conversation when the conversation is being held, even if new content can't be created.
Who are your customers? I know you've got NFL players, you've got historic estates from Hollywood, I think too. Like who are your clients at this point?
Both of those segments, including athletes, including models, we have a number of just real people like ourselves. I'm none of the above as far as the celebrity, athlete, or model category, but I think everyone should have the ability to protect and leverage their likeness in a way that ensures consent.
Let's say I am a celebrity of some sort and I've been hired to endorse a product, but I can't make the photo shoot or whatever. So what you're saying is maybe through the official AI, through the use of information as vault, the blueprint, we can generate an AI image that can then be used in connection with that ad. Am I understanding the tech and the use case?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. In addition to that, associating the consent. So using provenance technology to encode.
Yeah, that's what I wanna hear is how can I prove that, all right, I authorized this use, but I didn't authorize this use over here?
Yeah, so we're taking the proactive approach. I think that there needs to be a proactive and reactive set of tools, and we are definitely on the proactive side. So let's prevent misuse for everyone that wants to do the right thing, which I believe is the majority. So, if we go back to that '07, '08 time period we were talking about before with video sharing, I mean, it's around that same time period that we had Napster, which clearly demonstrated that people wanted the ability to search and discover and share and consume music in new ways. And the proactive solution that was provided to meet those needs was iTunes. So I think of us as, the iTunes to generative AI shift, the proper, correct way to ensure consent, credit, and compensation for everyone involved.
How do you verify the actual output? How do you verify that Chad Main authorized that, but didn't authorize this other one that's being used in connection with some blog post or something?
The first piece of that is providing that mechanism for consent. Once the content's created, once the content is out in the wild, then it's enabling people to verify. So every piece of content that comes through our platform, we take a layered approach to provenance. So it starts with C2PA. If you're familiar with the Content Authenticity Initiative, started by Adobe and the BBC and Microsoft, really pre-generative AI mania. And so it's an open source standard that allows anyone to view a manifest of where content originated, changes to that content, where it's supposed to live. And so providing that open approach towards sharing information is step one. And then layering in different cryptographic signatures, watermarking, fingerprinting, perceptual hash. There's a variety of different approaches that we can take to signal whether content's been altered or verify that the content's authentic. And I believe that will occur at the platform level soon, where if you're uploading content to TikTok or Insta or YouTube, they're looking for that verification, ensuring it's authentic before it's distributed and does harm. Where the takedown services that live on the other side of the equation that you need in your toolkit as well handle removal of the content that's not genuine.
And as of right now, because I know it's still early days, let's say that there is a mechanism where I upload something to social media and it's me, via provenance, via this. Basically, it's a version history what you described, right? To prove authenticity, you could see all the different. But is there a mechanism now today where I can go to a social media platform and say, look, I posted this, but not this. This isn't me. Please take it down. Is there a way they can verify that this one's me and that one is not?
Yeah, so that's usually done by the user. And the truth is, today, it's a difficult process to navigate. I mean, the mechanisms that are in place are really the bare minimum. Oftentimes, platforms have created those mechanisms for a problem that occurred much earlier. Generative AI is such a huge shift that the tools in place on a lot of the platforms, which were really meant to mitigate liability, aren't effective tools to remove content that is blatantly misusing one's likeness.
Well, you'd basically have to prove it. I didn't post that, right? That's how you have to do it today. You've got to convince them, the powers that be on the social media platform, that this was not your post, right? That's really your only option now, right?
Correct. And what's even more difficult in that scenario is getting the attention of the right person or department at a major platform that's uploading thousands and thousands of hours of content per minute.
You mentioned cryptography is one of the technologies that can be used, but when and where does blockchain technology come in? Because you can own your identity that's cryptologically verifiable. It seems to me that that is kind of a blockchain related technology.
I think ultimately that's where things lead, an immutable source record that travels with content. With that source, that manifest is only as valuable or only valuable when it can be used. So if you're using a proprietary closed blockchain that only one platform has access to, then only that platform is able to verify that the content is authentic. The C2PA and the Content for Authenticity initiative, the entire approach is everyone should have access to verify whether or not this is real. Is this disinformation? Like, give everyone the tool to be able to determine, is this authentic? And so I think it has to begin with an open source standard, an ecosystem that everyone has access to and can build upon so that no one's left in the dark when they're trying to verify, is this real?
But it's already out there, right? You throw it on Ethereum, you can throw it on Solana, you can throw it on Cardano, like, some open blockchain, you could throw it on there, and that would be the way to verify, right? Like, you can go and prove that, okay, here I can prove that, trace it back to my whatever cryptologically sound signature, whatever it is, right? That's the future state.
It's a future state when, with blockchain, you either have the open or closed approach. And so if it's closed, not everyone can verify. If it's open, you're potentially giving away information that shouldn't be part of that authentication process. So in our case, we attach licensing information to a piece of content. And that licensing information, it's important to know it was licensed. This is authentic, but the underlying details of that license shouldn't be available to the general public. So that's where today we really believe that there's a layered open source approach that doesn't require blockchain. But in the future, I think there's a hybrid approach that provides all of us with that immutable open source record that's needed for verification.
All right, today, how do I verify that it was licensed? This is actually a licensed use. How does official AI help me verify that or establish that if I am the owner of these rights?
So, I mean, it's similar to if you use an Adobe product, content credentials. I mean, Adobe's content credentials relies on the same C2PA open source standard. And so you can open a piece of content in your Adobe application. You can come to the official AI website and upload or point to a piece of content. And we're going to provide the C2PA data associated with that image. And then we're also sharing the basic licensing details. Is this licensed? Should this still be up? Was it only available for a year? And the artist needs to be made whole for its continued use.
How did you guys come up with the idea? I mean, obviously, it's been talked about a lot. I don't, generative AI comes out, it's using people's voices. Obviously, they cleared and authorized. You can make a Drake song or Taylor Swift song or whatever. So I know it's out there, but how and when did you guys decide, all right, this is something we're going to tackle? This is something that needs to be addressed.
It was a group that was concerned about how to empower artists to ensure they continue to make a living with their art. It's hard enough to do without major technology shifts that hit artists first the hardest. And so recognizing that the copyright issue was not going to be resolved anytime soon. What other existing laws are available for us to help enforce with technology? And we really leaned into, its right of publicity in the States, image rights elsewhere. Globally, we recognize as a society that we all have this inherent right to protect our likeness, whether it's for commercial purposes or not. And those laws continue to evolve at the state, the federal, the global level. But that's why we really thought, okay, we can build technology that allows for us to work within the confines of those laws and evolve as those laws do.
Out of the gate, you partnered with a venture capital firm, right, to come up with the product and the company.
Yes.
Did they come to you with the idea, or did you come with them and they said, "Hey, we're on board"? Or what was the genesis?
The idea for Official AI was born within Pioneer Square Labs and Medita Ventures. And I had come to Pioneer Square Labs trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I had some ideas and I validated a few hypotheses, but my heart really wasn't in it. And in those conversations, they learned of my background with Audiosocket and early provenance and licensing. and surfaced the idea for official AI. And we began running with it. We spent a few months validating it before we officially started running with the company. But that was the genesis.
How'd you validate it? Just run it by people and see if they're into it, or did you actually have a use case?
In that first meeting, I'm at Pioneer Square Labs now, but in that first meeting, I walked out and just started dialing, musicians and athletes and celebrities that I have access to, and just started asking them kind of what they thought. And at the time, everyone was really focused or in that fear stage. It was right around the time the SAG-AFTRA strikes and the Writers Guild strike. Everyone was concerned, and rightfully so, about what was happening. And I think since then, we've moved past fear and into curiosity. Most people recognize that they need to find a path forward. And I'm really grateful that we get to be part of that conversation. We're at the table helping talent with their attorneys figure out the best path forward for those individuals and allowing them to help us build the right product to meet those needs.
How are you compensated? If I come to you as a notable person, celebrity, athlete, whatever, what and how do I pay you?
We're a subscription model. So talent brands pay for access to our platform, not only to create and safely store the blueprint of their likeness or product, but to also leverage it and collaborate with others. And then when we bring new opportunities to the table, for example, if we bring a shoe company to a modeling agency, through our platform, introducing a relationship they didn't have before, we also take a percentage of a usage fee. So a usage fee with models, a licensing fee with musicians that the brand, the business is actually paying us.
That's an interesting use case to use music as an example. It's kind of the old publishing model, right? Like, but still to this day, but especially back in the day, where you would, you have songs, and the publishing company go find artists to record them.
Yeah, it's success based for us. I mean, we really wanted to find a way where all ships rise. And, we only get paid, the majority of our money is made once we've proven value to all parties.
Right, and you prove value outside of the celebrities and the artists, the people you're managing like this, the actual brands, because they come to one place, right? Oh, official AI's got this guy and this guy and this gal, right?
Yes, like they can discover and search for people to partner with. A lot of brands today leverage kind of this talent as distribution model. Sports marketing is a great example. And we can facilitate that as well as provide them with a legal consent-based approach towards creating that content together.
Are you still raising money now?
We closed our seed round about a month and a half ago. And so that fundraising process is always ongoing, but we'll kick that off again in the fall.
So what's on the roadmap near term? What are you going to use this seed money for? Like, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish?
Ultimately, we're building an AI teammate for real people, for brands, for advertising consultants. And that's what we're using this capital for, to really build the underlying technology stack and bring us to market. We're working today with athletes, with celebrities, with musicians, with brands, and we're looking to build upon that success in a meaningful way.
Do you have developers on staff or using a dev shop, or like how you building the tech?
We have an engineering team in-house. There's 8 of us total on the team right now, and the majority of that team are engineers, with myself and a few others meeting with clients and translating that into product feedback to drive our roadmap.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, Dave, I appreciate your time. People want to get a hold of you, learn more about official AI. Where do you want to send them?
Feel free to email me. I'm Dave at theofficial.ai. We meet with a lot of attorneys and we're happy to have conversations. Pull up a chair, take a seat at the table, help us build the right product. I welcome questions and guidance.
Okay, that's a wrap for today's episode. As always, we really appreciate you listening. If you want to subscribe, you can find us on most major podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, etc. Also, if you like us enough, I hope you leave us a favorable review. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, this has been Technically Legal.